Okay, let's dive in. Today, we are unpacking uh, a book you've almost certainly heard of, maybe seen lying around, or even heard the title pop up in conversation, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Right. It's one of those titles, isn't it? That sounds maybe a bit, I don't know, simple, but really it's digging into something fundamental, understanding people, getting along, just making interactions smoother.
And here's the thing that's, well, kind of amazing. When it came out way back in 1937, nobody expected it to become this massive international bestseller.
Mm-hmm. Translated everywhere. The phrase itself is just, part of the language now. It seems like every generation sort of rediscovers it.
Yeah, and the story behind it is actually pretty fascinating. You mentioned this huge study.
Oh, right. Yeah. Back in the 20s, the University of Chicago and the YMCA schools did this massive 2-year survey. They went to Meriden, Connecticut. They figured it was like a typical American town.
And they interviewed every adult.
Every single one. Asked them 156 questions each. Can you imagine?
Wow, 156 questions. So what did people actually want to learn about most? After health, I mean.
Well, that was the kicker. People wanted to know how to understand other people, how to get along, how to make people like them, and crucially, how to win others over to their way of thinking.
Okay, so basic human connection stuff.
Exactly. But the survey revealed this big gap. There just wasn't a practical, usable textbook out there that taught this stuff.
So the need was there, documented, but no solution.
Right. And that gap directly led to courses being created, and eventually, well, to this very book. It wasn't just some idea. It came from a proven need.
Gotcha. So our mission today is basically to cut through all that history and pull out the really key actionable bits from this classic, like a shortcut to the core ideas that still matter.
Yeah, the stuff that's still relevant.
Okay, so buckle up, because the book kind of starts by throwing some cold water on how we usually act. It points out some surprising, maybe even a little shocking truths about what doesn't work.
Right? It really challenges those knee-jerk reactions we all have. And the very first principle, well, it hits you right between the eyes.
Shock point number 1, criticism. Pretty much useless.
Right.
Principle 1 is just, don't criticize, condemn, or complain.
The book uses some pretty intense examples to hammer this home, like Two Gun Crowley, the cop killer.
Yeah.
As he's literally going to the electric chair, he's saying he was just defending himself.
Defending himself, seriously?
Yeah.
After killing a cop?
Uh-huh. Or Al Capone, right? Public enemy number 1.
Yeah.
He apparently said he spent his life giving people the lighter pleasures, and all he got was abuse.
Wow. Okay.
And the book makes the point that even hardened criminals, people in prison, they almost never blame themselves. They genuinely believe they shouldn't be there.
So the takeaway is, if even they don't accept blame, how can we possibly expect, regular folks dealing with everyday stuff to take criticism well?
Exactly. It just doesn't compute psychologically. It triggers defensiveness immediately.
It's tough, though, because sometimes you do need to point things out.
Sure, but the way you do it matters. The book contrasts this with someone like John Wanamaker, the department store guy. He said he learned years ago it was foolish to scold.
What was his reasoning?
He basically said, look, I've got enough trouble managing my own limitations. Why should I fret because God didn't hand out intelligence evenly? Kind of a blunt way to put it.
Yeah, focus on your own issues first. Okay, humbling. So, shock point number 2. This one might sting a bit if you like a good argument.
Ah, yes. The futility of arguing. The book's take is pretty stark. You just can't win an argument.
How so?
Well, the logic is deceptively simple. You can't, because if you lose it, you lose it, and if you win it, you lose it.
Wait, if you win, you still lose. That feels wrong.
Only if you're thinking just about the facts in terms of the relationship. If you win, you've probably made the other person feel inferior, you've hurt their pride, they resent you.
So you win the point, but lose the person.
Precisely. You've lost their goodwill. It's an empty victory, really.
Okay, that makes sense. There's that salesman story, right? Patrick O'Hare.
Yeah, he used to argue with customers all the time and wasn't getting anywhere. Then he learned to just stop fighting.
How did that work?
Well, he tells about a buyer who just ripped into white trucks, saying they were no good. Instead of defending them, O'Hare just agreed with the part he could. He said something like, yeah, the Who's It trucks, the competitor the guy liked, they are good trucks.
So he validated the other guy first.
Exactly. He found common ground, avoided the fight, and ended up making way more progress, eventually making the sale, just by keeping his mouth shut at the right time.
It sounds like Ben Franklin's advice, too. Something about arguing might get you a victory.
But it will be an empty victory because you will never get your opponent's goodwill. That's the one.
And why are arguments so often pointless? Is it just because people are stubborn?
Well, partly, but the book says it's more that we're not really logical creatures in these moments. We're driven by, pride, bias, emotion. Being told you're wrong feels like a personal attack.
Right. It attacks your self-esteem.
Yeah. So people dig their heels in, not always because they're 100% sure they're right, but because admitting they're wrong feels like admitting they are flawed or foolish.
Okay, so the first big message is forget criticism, ditch the arguments. They just don't build bridges.
Nope. They actively burn them. They're instinctive, maybe, but totally counterproductive.
All right, so if that's what doesn't work, let's flip it. What does work? What are the principles the book validates with all these stories?
Okay, principle 4 is it sounds almost too simple,
Yeah.
but it's huge. It's be a good listener, encourage other people to talk about themselves.
Simple, but
Mhm.
hard to do sometimes. And there was that wild statistic about phone calls.
Oh, yeah. The New York Telephone Company study, 500 phone calls. Any guess how many times the word I was used?
Huh.
Try 3,900 times.
Wow. 3,900 in 500 calls.
Yep. Nearly 8 times per call on average. It's pretty stark proof. People are mostly interested in it, well, themselves.
The book puts it pretty bluntly, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah.
your own toothache matters more to you than a famine somewhere else.
It sounds harsh, but it's kind of true, isn't it? Our own little world, our problems, they loom largest for us.
So the advice that flows from that is, if you want to be interesting to others,
Stop trying so hard to be interesting. Just be interested in them. Ask questions they actually like answering, questions about them.
like that story with the author and the botanist at the dinner party.
Right. The author knew zip about botany, didn't talk about himself, just asked the botanist questions, listened like crazy. And afterward,
The botanist thought he was the most fascinating conversationalist ever.
all because he listened. It's like Charles W. Eliot from Harvard said, giving someone your exclusive attention, nothing is more flattering.
Totally. When someone really listens, you feel it. Oh, and the story about the angry customer, the Detmer Woolen Company.
Oh, that one's incredible. Guy owes money, refuses to pay, says he'll never buy again. The company rep goes to see him and just listens. For 3 hours straight.
3 hours just letting the guy vent.
Pretty much. Didn't argue, just listened patiently, nodded, showed understanding. Then he genuinely sympathized, said something like, "You've done me a huge favor telling me all this."
And the result.
Yeah.
After all that listening,
The guy calmed down completely, paid the bill on the spot, placed an even bigger order, stayed a loyal customer for years, even named his son Detmer.
wow. Listening literally turned an enemy into a fan.
It's like social currency. Huge value.
Okay, so principle 5 builds right on that, doesn't it? Once you're listening and finding out what they care about.
Then you talk in terms of their interests, not yours.
Seems logical, but we mess this up constantly, right? Like those awful sales letters.
Oh, yeah. Filled with, our company wants this, or we need that. Who cares what your company wants? The reader's thinking, what's in it for me?
Or that freight terminal example talking all about their scheduling problems first.
Right. Buried the customer benefit in the last paragraph.
Yep.
Completely missed the mark because it wasn't customer focused.
But then you've got Barbara Anderson looking for a bank job. She didn't talk about needing a job.
Nope. Her letters to what? 12 banks, all focused on how her skills could help them, help their growing bank contribute to their profit, meet their goals.
And the result was 11 interviews.
11 out of 12. Because she framed everything from their perspective, their interests.
It's that Henry Ford quote again, isn't it? The secret of success is seeing things from the other person's angle.
Exactly. Get the other person's point of view and see things from that person's angle as well as from your own. Simple, profound.
And yet, the book says 90% of us ignore it 90% of the time.
We just default to our own viewpoint. It takes conscious effort to shift.
And it's not about being sneaky, right?
Not at all. It's about finding that common ground where both parties benefit. Barbara got a job. The bank got a great employee. Win-win.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Principle number 2. This one sounds almost trivial. Just smile.
Huh. Yeah, it does sound basic. But the book argues a genuine, warm smile is incredibly powerful, universal language. Like Professor McConnell said, smiling people tend to manage, teach, sell better, even raise happier kids.
More information in a smile than a frown.
Definitely. And that department store manager who'd hire a smiling person with less education over a grumpy PhD.
Yeah, because the smile signals a better attitude for dealing with people.
Right. And it even works when they can't see you. Like on the phone, that phone power idea. Your smile changes your voice tone.
Oh yeah, the job applicant who picked a company just because the manager's voice sounded friendly.
Exactly. Sounded glad to hear from me. That came from a smile.
It's infectious. Like Bill, the stockbroker, the grouch.
Right. He forced himself to smile at his wife, people in the building, people at work. Just made a conscious effort.
And it actually changed things.
Big time. He said it brought more happiness into his home in 2 months than in the whole previous year. Plus, he started appreciating people more, criticizing less. It had this ripple effect.
So that old Chinese proverb makes sense. A man without a smiling face must not open a shop.
Pretty much. It's an invitation. Costs nothing, creates so much.
Okay, principle 3. Another seemingly small thing with big impact. Using someone's name.
Ah, yes. Remembering and using a person's name. The book calls it the sweetest and most important sound to that person.
It's pure recognition, isn't it? Like Jim Farley, the political guy who helped FDR. He knew 50,000 names.
50,000 by first name. That wasn't just memory. It was a key part of how he built connections, made people feel valued.
And FDR himself got it. He knew it was basic, but vital for goodwill. That story about him thanking the mechanic.
Oh yeah, the shy mechanic at the White House. FDR not only thanked him by name genuinely, but later sent him an autographed photo and a note.
That person would remember that forever.
Absolutely. That's why people like Napoleon III apparently had systems for remembering names, asking spelling, repeating it, writing it down. They knew its power.
And it works in tiny interactions too, like Ken Nottingham and Eunice the sandwich lady.
Classic. Same grumpy lady every day, until he just read her name tag and said, "Hello, Eunice."
And boom, instant change.
Total transformation. Smile, friendly service, bigger sandwich. Just using her name broke through the routine, acknowledged her as a person.
Because the name is uniquely theirs, it sets them apart.
Exactly. It says, "I see you," which leads perfectly into the next one, principle 6.
Which is?
Make the other person feel important, and crucially, do it sincerely.
This ties back to that deep human need, right? The desire to be important.
Yeah, John Dewey called it the deepest urge. The book says tapping into that genuinely is a master key to influence.
Like the lawyer visiting his wife's elderly aunt.
Right. She was lonely, living in the past with her beautiful things. He didn't just make small talk. He found things he could honestly admire about her life, her house, her antiques, her travels.
Seems important to her.
Exactly. He sincerely appreciated her world, and she was just, starving for that little bit of recognition.
And her reaction was pretty extreme, giving him her car.
Her prized Packard. He wasn't even family, but she felt he understood and appreciated beauty, connected it back to him, appreciating her. It was profound gratitude for feeling seen and valued.
It's about genuine appreciation. Like James Adamson meeting George Eastman, the Kodak founder.
Perfect example. Adamson didn't flatter. He genuinely admired Eastman's office, which Eastman had helped design.
And Eastman lit up.
Totally. Gave him a personal tour, talked about his plans, his philanthropy, his first camera. Adamson tapped into what Eastman was proud of.
And that led to a huge order and a friendship.
Because it started with sincere appreciation, making Eastman feel important for his actual accomplishment.
This works with employees too, doesn't it? The restaurant owner, Claude Murray.
Yeah, his key employee resigned. Instead of just offering more money, he sat her down and sincerely told her how vital she was, how much her 5 years meant, how she was the crucial link. Made her feel indispensable.
And she said?
Tore up the resignation letter right there. Feeling important mattered more than a raise in that moment.
And Keith Roper at GM with the struggling printer. Specific praise. All right.
That's the key. Not just good job, but pointing out exactly what was high quality about a specific piece of work and how important that contribution was.
Because generic praise can feel fake.
Right. Specificity makes it sincere. And that specific, sincere praise turned the printer's attitude right around, made him feel valued, important. He became loyal.
It really brings home that William James idea that we all have these hidden potentials, these powers we habitually fail to use.
And the book is saying, maybe one of our greatest powers is the ability to unlock potential in others by genuinely appreciating them, making them feel important.
Like Marie the dishwasher. That's a touching story.
Yeah, telling her she had treasures within her, something she'd never heard. It changed how she saw herself, how she acted. It helped her bloom, as the book says.
Or the dentist, Dr. Fitzhugh, and the charwoman, giving her a fine reputation to live up to.
Instead of criticizing her messy work, he praised her potential for cleanliness. The next day, everything gleaming, he gave her a standard to meet, and she met it. Effortlessly, almost.
So these aren't tricks, they're just understanding human nature.
Exactly, and applying it sincerely, which flows into the principles for actually influencing people's actions.
Okay, like principle 3 in that section. Talk about your own mistakes first.
Brilliant, isn't it? Before criticizing someone else, admit your own flaws or past errors. It immediately lowers defenses. Dale Carnegie did it with his niece Josephine, his secretary.
Right. He remembered his own mistakes at her age before pointing out hers.
Takes the sting out. And Clarence Sirhusen with his son who was smoking.
Yeah, he didn't lecture. He shared his own struggles with smoking when he was young, how hard it was for him to quit, made it relatable, not accusatory.
Much more effective. Then there's principle 4 for influencing. Ask questions instead of giving direct orders.
Ah, the O&D Young approach. No commands, just suggestions.
Yeah, you might consider this, or what do you think if we did it this way? It empowers people, makes them feel part of the decision.
Gives them ownership, like the factory manager needing overtime.
Right. Didn't order people to stay late. Asked, hey, team, can we handle this rush job? Made it a challenge, involved them, they came up with the plan.
Fostered that we can do it spirit.
Exactly. Then principle 8 loops back again. Try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view.
Foundational, really. We saw with Barbara Anderson in the bank job.
And with F. Dale Connor and the car repair issue, yelling didn't work. Going to the owner and framing it in terms of protecting the owner's reputation, that worked.
Because he saw it from Mr. White's perspective, appealed to his interests.
And got immediate results, including borrowing the owner's car.
Okay, last one here, principle 9. Make the other person happy about doing the thing you suggest.
This one's about framing the request so it aligns with their desires or makes them feel good about agreeing, like Colonel House influencing President Wilson's errand boy, Brian.
How did he do that again?
He basically told Brian that going officially would attract too much attention because Brian was too important for that kind of low-key task.
It seems almost too simple sometimes, but story after story shows how powerful this stuff is in practice.
It's definitely practice-based, not just theory.
So here's something for you, the listener, to think about. How much easier could your life be? Your work, your relationships, just daily interactions. How much smoother could they be if you consciously tried applying just one or two of these ideas consistently?
Yeah, what opportunities might you be missing? What friction are you causing without realizing it just by not tapping into these simple truths?
It's a really powerful question to ask yourself.
Definitely.
And look, that's why we wholeheartedly recommend you actually get the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah, absolutely. These principles aren't just random ideas. They came out of decades of real-world experience teaching thousands of adults in those original courses. These techniques genuinely work.
The book itself says they work like magic, and people saw real results, more sales, better jobs, more happiness. It gives you the tools.
But it's not just a read-it-once kind of book, is it?
No, not at all. It's meant to be a working handbook. The book itself tells you, read chapters twice, stop and think how you can use this, underline stuff, review it monthly.
And most importantly, practice it every chance you get. Keep track of what works for you.
It's about building the skills, making it a habit.
Turning it into a practice for life, really.
So yeah, go get the book, use it. You honestly won't regret it.